Ever wondered why some communities seem to bounce back stronger from disaster almost effortlessly, while others really struggle under the pressure? Today, we're taking a deep dive into community resilience. Our mission is to really unpack what this vital concept truly means, why it's absolutely necessary in our, well, increasingly unpredictable world, and how it's actually built on the ground. We're drawing from a fantastic stack of insightful sources today, lots of different angles, academic papers, nonprofit reports, expert analyses.
That's right. And I think it's crucial to understand that resilience isn't just about bouncing back, to where you were before a crisis. It's more about learning, growing, and actually emerging stronger. And these sources, they offer a really multifaceted view from, say, global frameworks down to incredibly specific real-world community examples.
Okay, let's unpack this then. That term community resilience, it gets thrown around a lot. But what's the fundamental idea behind it? What separates it from just bouncing back?
Well, the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, the IFRC, they put it quite well, I think. They define it as a community's total ability to face disasters, not just survive them, but to genuinely anticipate, prepare for, reduce the impact, cope with it, and then recover and grow stronger. And critically, all without compromising their long-term prospects.
Right, the long-term view. And it seems like many sources, like Urban Footprint, emphasize that resilience isn't just about traditional disaster preparedness,
Right.
like having an emergency kit, right? It's broader.
Precisely. Urban Footprint really highlights that holistic view. They emphasize it's also about promoting overall community health. And that includes things like strong social connections and, importantly, robust everyday health systems. It's about building health from the ground up, you see, not just prepping for one event.
So, connecting this to the listener, why does your community's resilience matter personally? Urban Footprint suggests that, well, with the increasing frequency of both human-caused and natural disasters, and the fact that these risks are, frankly, alarmingly unevenly distributed, understanding and cultivating this resilience isn't really a luxury anymore, is it? It's a necessity.
Exactly. And consider this stark reality, they point out. Black and African American communities are 40% more likely to live in areas predicted to see the highest increases in heat-related deaths. That kind of disproportionate impact really underlines why building resilience, which has to include addressing these systemic vulnerabilities, is so incredibly vital for everyone's future.
Okay, so now that we understand what community resilience is and why it's so critical, the next logical question is, how do we actually build it? Where do communities even begin?
Well, a key component, and this comes through strongly in the Strength and Endue material, is this powerful collaboration between government bodies and nonprofit organizations. Their roles are distinct, definitely, but they're really complementary. Together, they create a much stronger front.
Okay, tell us a bit more about those distinct roles. How do they differ?
Certainly. So government's role is pivotal in things like policymaking, resource allocation, infrastructure support, big picture stuff. Think about after Hurricane Sandy, New York City implemented stricter zoning codes, launched the Build It Back program that was backed by federal funding, big-scale changes to enhance resilience. Governments are crucial for ensuring initiatives align with broader policy goals and, importantly, have sufficient resources to operate effectively.
Okay, policy and resources.
Yeah.
And the nonprofits, where do they fit in?
Nonprofits, well, they complement this by tailoring solutions to very specific, unique community needs. They often have these deep-rooted local connections, right, that allows them to build trust, understand specific challenges. They can mobilize volunteers quickly, deliver services efficiently, and often advocate for vulnerable groups who might otherwise be missed. A classic example is the Red Cross immediate relief, long-term recovery, preparedness training right there in disaster-stricken areas. Their grassroots presence enables that swift action and ongoing support. Essential.
It really sounds like a symbiotic relationship is key then. But practically speaking, what does truly effective collaboration? What does it look like on the ground? How do they actually work together?
Yeah. Strength and Endue outlines several ways this happens effectively. First, joint planning and decision-making. So establishing collaborative frameworks ensures all perspectives are actually heard, leading to more comprehensive strategies.
Okay, planning together. Makes sense. What else?
Second, resource sharing and capacity building. Governments can give nonprofits access to things like data, technology, training programs, and in return, nonprofits contribute their on-the-ground expertise. Remember, during the COVID-19 pandemic, public health departments often collaborated with local food banks for efficient distribution. That's leveraging both strengths.
Right, playing to their strengths.
Exactly. Third, they can run public awareness and education campaigns jointly. That leverages the government's reach and the nonprofits, maybe creativity or local trust, to engage diverse audiences. Fourth, collaborative funding models like public-private partnerships can pool resources for maximum impact, get more bang for the buck, essentially. And finally, continuous monitoring and evaluation. This ensures accountability. Governments might support data collection, while nonprofits provide that crucial community feedback. Is this actually working for people?
But it's not always just top-down, is it?
Yeah.
The Kangaroo Valley case study, this was from a recent AJM article, October 2024. It shows the incredible power of community-led initiatives from the ground up. This really got me thinking.
Oh, it's a fantastic example, truly inspiring. Kangaroo Valley, it's a semi-rural area in New South Wales, Australia. It was heavily impacted by the Currawong bushfire back in January 2020. Tragically, over 10% of homes were destroyed. And the area's limited road access, that has real implications during emergencies.
So they face specific challenges.
They did. And following concerns about increasing bushfire risks, the Kangaroo Valley Community Bushfire Committee, the KVCBC, was established before that fire, back in September 2018. They felt existing official plans were just too general for their specific geography, so they advocated for a four-level approach to community organization: individual households, then neighborhoods, larger localities, and finally community-wide.
A layered approach.
Yes, a grassroots-up participatory process. It led to 9 bushfire-ready neighborhood groups. They really pushed for household bushfire survival plans, shared specific examples, used WhatsApp, even UHFCB radios because mobile reception was poor. And get this, in the week before the Currawong fire hit, these groups put together a database of who intended to stay or leave. They gave that to the local volunteer rural fire brigade. Yeah. It helped fire crews prioritize checks on households. Many residents did substantial property prep, clearing vegetation, retrofits. And what really stands out is that the proportion of householders who were uncertain whether to stay or leave, it was significantly lower than reported for many other fires. That local preparation clearly made a difference.
That's incredible foresight and organization, really driven by the community itself. And what about after the fire? How did those connections help then?
Well, in the immediate aftermath, a new community-led group quickly set up a recovery drop-in center in a village shopfront within just 3 days.
3 days. That's fast.
Incredibly fast. This was formalized as the Kangaroo Valley Bushfire Recovery Association, KVBRA. They raised over $100,000 through online campaigns, local events. Local volunteers at the center helped people find places to stay, contact insurers, banks, apply for funds, and just provided that vital emotional support. And as recovery went on, they formalized it further. A new incorporated body, Resilient KV, launched in late 2023. Its scope broadened to cover all natural hazards, all phases of emergency management. That allowed it to get government funding, insurance. It evolved.
But they built capacity over time.
Exactly. Which brings up a crucial question, really. How do we integrate that kind of local, maybe traditional or informal knowledge with the more formal systems? The Merapi case study, this one's from the Journal of Emergency Management, offers a fascinating look at exactly that.
Right, Merapi in central Java, Indonesia. Communities around a highly active volcano facing frequent, intense eruptions. They must have developed ways to cope.
They absolutely have. And it's fascinating how their local social institutions, things like neighborly ties, reciprocity, collective identity, even social and ecological responsibilities, how these actually govern land management and disaster response. They operate through informal rules and consensus. And this happens even when these informal rules might conflict with formal government zoning policies.
So local custom can sometimes override official rules.
In practice, yes, or at least operate alongside them dynamically. For instance, Merapi's pasture land isn't just free access. It's governed by local informal rules to maintain its benefits for community safety, for grazing management related to eruption risk. Local elders, community leaders, they play these critical, sometimes quite arbitrary roles, making decisions about land use, resource extraction, allocation, always prioritizing collective needs and ecological sustainability. They even have unique rewards, like being recognized as a Merapi's protector or a local hero, and also informal punishments for not following the rules.
That's a whole social system built around the volcano's threat.
Yeah. It is. And what Merapi truly reveals is how deep, localized knowledge, passed down through generations, can be just as powerful for resilience as any formal emergency plan.
It means that site-specific knowledge and direct experience are absolutely crucial. In Merapi, apparently, government extension agents and community members learn and evolve together. It's reciprocal.
Yes, residents teach the agents about tracking and predicting Merapi's activities, reading cloud formations, understanding changes in livestock behavior, stuff you only know from living there. And the agents share strategic planning for mitigation, emergency relief coordination. This reciprocal learning helps preserve what they call the local knowledge commons, this invaluable collective understanding.
Which brings us neatly to another, maybe less visible, but equally powerful aspect of resilience: the role of social cohesion and trust. Crisis Lab noted that strong social connections can sometimes be as crucial, if not more so, than having emergency supplies. What does that actually look like?
Well, the IFRC framework strongly reinforces this. It explicitly states that a truly resilient community is socially cohesive and connected. It even says that individuals who belong to more than one community group are likely to be more resilient personally, and that resilient communities, in turn, strengthen the resilience of the individuals and households within them. It's a feedback loop.
A virtuous cycle.
You could say that. And a study from China, published via Semantic Scholar, offers some really profound insight here. They looked at the COVID-19 pandemic. They found that community resilience and government trust significantly impact psychological resilience and anxiety levels during crises.
Okay, how so?
Well, first, individual psychological resilience obviously helps people cope with anxiety, but critically, they found a strong positive correlation. The perception of stronger community resilience directly boosted individual psychological strength. The community acts as a buffer.
Like a protective umbrella, as they put it.
Precisely. That's the term they used. Resilient communities develop their own resources, social, political, cultural, psychological, to mitigate the impact of risks. They provide emotional support, material aid, social connections, acting as this protective umbrella for individuals, reducing that psychological stress.
And what about trust in government? How did that play in?
Also crucial. High trust in government reduces people's perception of crisis-related risks and worries about the future. It enhances their sense of controllability, which protects mental health. They saw this during the SARS crisis in Hong Kong back in 2003. Residents' trust in the government and healthcare institutions effectively mitigated personal anxiety. But importantly, that trust is built on the government's ability and performance during the crisis. It has to be earned.
So community resilience and government trust aren't separate things.
Not at all. They're closely related. The study found a significant positive correlation, a strong one actually, between increased community resilience and higher levels of government trust, and vice versa. They reinforce each other, fostering cooperative behaviors.
It really underscores that resilience isn't just about the physical stuff, the infrastructure like sturdy buildings or roads.
No.
But it's deeply embedded in the very fabric of human connection and trust. That really paints a picture. It makes you realize how interconnected it all is.
Absolutely. It's not just what structures you build, but what connections you foster.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit then. Thinking about large-scale recovery efforts, particularly after massive sudden disasters, what have we learned? The World Bank shared 4 key lessons from central Sulawesi, Indonesia. This was after that devastating 2018 magnitude 7.5 earthquake and tsunami, an event that caused severe soil liquefaction where the ground basically loses its strength during shaking, turns almost liquid, causing immense damage, and tragically more than 4,400 deaths. What did they learn there?
They identified some really crucial insights from that huge recovery effort. Lesson 1 was about balancing agility with long-term resilience. So, governments can use rapid damage estimation methods like GRADE to quickly figure out envelopment needs, get help flowing fast. But crucially, use that same information to build back better. Don't just replace what was lost. Reconstruct buildings to modern seismic standards. Provide training on better construction practices. Think long-term, even in the immediate response.
Build back better. Okay, lesson 1. What's next?
Lesson 2. Streamline, integrate, and coordinate right from the start. Recovery programs inevitably cross jurisdictions, involve multiple organizations. It's complex, so it's good practice to have a single agency coordinating implementation if possible, and data integration is vital. In Central Sulawesi, after different groups initially collected data independently, the government developed a collaborative online system for regular updates. Everyone working from the same page avoids duplication, confusion.
Makes sense. Coordination is key. Lesson 3.
Lesson 3. Put people's needs absolutely at the forefront. This means engaging people directly, especially on sensitive issues like land rights and resettlement. That's always tricky. In Central Sulawesi, they set up a dedicated task force just for land issues, using community facilitators to engage directly with affected people. This included encouraging voluntary relocation, but through participatory consultations, not just top-down decrees. It also meant ensuring things like gender-based violence risk mitigation were built into the recovery plans, and incorporating inclusive design standards like modifying housing designs to include internal partitions for privacy, small things that make a big difference to dignity and safety.
Really centering the human element. And the final lesson.
Lesson 4. Turn roadblocks into building blocks. Literally, in this case. Disasters generate enormous amounts of waste and debris, but reconstruction presents an opportunity to reuse it sustainably. In Central Sulawesi, they estimated that about 80% of the debris, that was 540,000 tons of concrete, brick, sand, soil, could actually be recycled and repurposed, used for roads, buildings, ports. It helped meet the local demand for building materials while dealing with the waste problem. A remarkable example of, well, sustainable recovery.
Finding opportunity in the debris. Can be putting all these pieces together, the definitions, the collaborations, the grassroots power, the social fabric, the large-scale lessons. What does this tell us about actionable strategies? How do we build a more resilient tomorrow? Urban Footprint seems to offer some clear pathways forward.
Yes, Urban Footprint highlights several key strategies, and they really echo what we've been discussing. First, strengthening and improving public access to health and social services. Strong public health systems underpin health resilience, providing that critical access to care, food, water, especially after disasters.
That links back to the broader definition of resilience.
Exactly. Second, promoting health alongside disaster preparedness. Healthy communities are simply more likely to persist through challenges. It's foundational. Third, expanding communication and collaboration across the whole community. Building networks that involve not just the usual services, but also businesses, community organizations, faith groups, social services, everyone.
Widening the circle.
Precisely. Fourth, actively engaging at-risk individuals and the programs that serve them. Providing essential aid to vulnerable individuals isn't just compassionate, it improves public health and the economy for everyone. And fifth, consciously building social connectedness. Empowering people to help each other fosters that close-knit community fabric that can respond so effectively to adversity.
And that last one really connects back to Kangaroo Valley, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the trust element from the China study.
It absolutely does. What's important to recognize across all these strategies is that this isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. It requires truly understanding a community's unique needs, its specific situation, its culture, the likely threats it faces, allowing for customized approaches. That's something the IFRC framework also really emphasizes. Context matters.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. We've delved deep into community resilience, from what it fundamentally means, the critical roles of government and nonprofits, to the often surprising power of grassroots efforts, like in Kangaroo Valley, and those invisible but vital ties of social trust and local knowledge we saw in Merapi. We've seen how communities in very different places, Central Sulawesi after catastrophe, China during a pandemic, have found ways to adapt, recover, and importantly, emerge stronger.
Yeah, this journey really highlights that building a resilient future isn't just about the hard stuff, the infrastructure or the emergency plans. It's profoundly about people. It's about their connections, their trust in each other and in their institutions, and their collective capacity to learn and adapt together. It's quite fascinating, isn't it, how these seemingly distinct elements, infrastructure, policy, social ties, local knowledge, trust, they all weave together into this cohesive whole, transforming vulnerability into strength.
It really is. So as you, our listener, reflect on this deep dive, maybe consider this. How might you personally contribute, even in small ways, to strengthening the social connections and trust within your own community? How can those everyday interactions become the building blocks for a more resilient tomorrow where you live? Something to think about.